Welcome back to the Good Leader Podcast. I'm your host, John Martinez, with my co-host, Dr. Dave, and I keep putting motherfucking Miller on the...
It's a good emphasizer. I like it.
It gives us some oomph to it.
It's a punch in the face without the punch.
And today's topic is going to be bad days. The title's a little longer, but I think that will simplify it for us, bad days. Miguel, go ahead and throw the intro in there. So for the topic of bad days, the idea kind of came to me yesterday because it was just like a long day. It wasn't necessarily a bad day, but at the end of the day, I was like trying to log on to this like program, and then it just started irritating me, and I found myself getting so irritated with it. And I was like, man, why am I getting irritated with this? And I just realized it's just been like a long day that kind of compounded. So, and I was like, and so once I kind of like, okay, let me chill and figured it out. And like, I got to go to the gym and all stuff. I was thinking like, man, why is that making me irritated? But it made me think of that's kind of what happens to people, but just sometimes over a longer periods of time where they just almost like,
Yeah.
the pressure just keeps building and building, and maybe it just doesn't let up, or they don't know how to let it up or have the good habits of, like, for myself, I could recognize like, hey, I'm getting kind of irritated. Let me like chill out, you know what I mean? And then let me finish what I'm doing, and I need to go to the gym. It's getting later.
I guess it all depends on the actual effect of, of what the aggravation, is coming from. I mean, so it's like, some people get like aggravated, I mean, for having like a sense of like, say, something being unfinished,
Yeah.
And like other things getting piled on top, or it's like, or even just like, I had a whole scheme in my head of how everything was going to go today,
And then go.
everything fell to pieces, even though I got stuff that, but it's like I'm irritated,
Yeah.
and so it's really what the source of the aggravation is.
Yeah, and I put some of the sources I think that people can get that where it caused them to have a bad day. I have a work chaos, overload, kind of what you talked about. Things don't go the way you wanted, long commutes, fatigue, training exhaustion. And that could be from anything. Just even working out. There's times where it's like I kind of felt like that. Like, yes, not that I love working out, but there's some days where it's like it feels not even hard. It just feels like long. Oh, like I don't have the energy. You know what I mean? The same as you do other days. Where other days you're like, I'm ready to come in here, rock and roll or whatever.
My first workout this morning was kind of like that, man.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, for whatever reason, it's like closing up last night.
Yeah.
I didn't expect like that person to be at the desk telling me about her problems and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. So it kind of threw off like my rhythm,
Yeah.
and I didn't get to sleep when I thought I should. And then so it's like I was up early anyway, and it was like it's just slow rolling. By the time I got to the gym and trying to get into the workout was kind of like, man, it's like this is just trudging through mud right now,
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff, and I think like you said that when you have a positive attitude or a stronger attitude, I think people tend to like gravitate towards you.
Right.
They gravitate towards you, but it also is sometimes where you're also dealing with your own stuff, and people don't realize that. They're saying like when a strong person is strong, who asks them if they're okay? You know what I mean?
Right.
And the reality is really sometimes nobody.
Right.
Like maybe other people that are kind of like that are closer, but you're kind of somewhat the same, and you check in on each other, but you're not. Not everyone is saying it. Lucy, I think even though people that kind of, I want to say complain the most, but seem to be always going through the most, they don't realize a lot of people are just checking on because they're a little bit perceived as being like, I want to say weaker, but like they're just going through stuff all the time, but they just can't even appreciate it because they're just so in their own like sorrow,
Well, there's some people, man, that don't even give you the chance to check in on it.
Yeah.
They just want to like throw everything at you, and you're just like, man, I didn't even ask.
Yeah.
But
Last that was hello.
yeah, but yes, like, but then it's like when you talk about like the strong person, all that sort of stuff, it's that can actually be like a different sort of like aggravation, or even like an isolation in and of itself. I mean, when you're like the type of guy who just like always shows up, always just takes care of business, carries the load when other people are dropping, dropping slack, it starts to get to the point where it's like, oh, so well, that's the only reason why anybody calls you,
Yeah.
or anything like that,
Yeah.
because it was, man, he'll show up and he'll take care of it.
Yeah,
You know?
attrition. They already
Yeah.
know, like, as things go on, like, and I think that's a good, and that could be in a good and a bad thing sometimes, because sometimes you're just continue, like, to me, I think of it as a good thing, but I can also see sometimes where it can wear people down, you know what I mean, myself included, where sometimes you're like, okay, I need to like modify what I'm doing, because you can't just keep going like full force, like sometimes all the times. Sometimes you got to like step back and say, okay, I don't, not that I never avoid people, but sometimes you're like, oh, I'm not in the mood today to hear what they're gonna talk about. I got to talk to them later when I can actually engage with them. Also, it's gonna just irritate me to keep hearing, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or it's gonna bring you down. Sometimes you're just like, I got to do what I got to do for myself.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you want to have, if you have any good real life examples of Dave, where you had a super bad day, or what you would consider like, man, this fucking day was, you know.
All right. So you cracked this shell. I guess I got to spill everything out. So I'll tell you my worst day. I told you, I think I told you once before, I was engaged to be married.
I don't think, yeah.
Yeah.
One of your secrets.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's not one of the things that I just like volunteer.
Yeah.
If it comes up in conversation or
Yeah,
whatever, I'll talk about it. But I was engaged to be married once. It was like it was like the greatest relationship I ever had.
Yeah.
You know, and as it ended up, you know, she ended up dying 2 months before we were supposed to get married.
Fuck.
And that by far was my worst day. You know. That really kind of started like my dark period.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was weird. I mean, it's something still like, you know, kept me getting up every day and still doing the things that I needed to do, you know, and all that. But I hated every minute of it.
Was it like an unexpected thing, or was something you guys knew something was going on? I just asked that because sometimes they might hit you different. You know what I mean? Like,
so she had a cyst in her gut, which ruptured. However, it was there over time, and it would kind of leak, you know. So
yeah.
So she came down with periodic infections, you know, which they would try to you know, chase down as like, oh, you know, so urinary tract infection, and all this. So you just keep throwing like antibiotics, and over time, you know, the bacteria involved becomes like antibiotic resistant, and then once it actually totally ruptured, the infection became systemic, you know. She went septic, and then it was just, you know, a period of, you know, cascading organ failure. And yeah.
And how do you think for yourself, what helped you get through those days, like you said, just getting up? Do you think it was like your discipline, or maybe was it from your
spite?
It was spite, like this?
It was spite. I mean, because I mean, I never stopped like believing in God, but I hated him.
Yeah, you were mad. Yeah,
no. And it was like, oh, so, well, you know, if you want to take anything more from me, you're going to have to fight me for it.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was kind of like an attitude. But I mean, there was always something like driving me. I still had to get up. I still had to do it, you know, go and show up at work and be like my best at work and all that. But then it's like, you know, after those kind of responsibilities were over, then it was time to just go out and fuck off.
Yeah.
You know? Just, you know, live life in, you know, contrast to whatever, you know, rules, you know, people seem to want to accept as like, you know, this is how you're supposed to behave. It's fuck that, you know. There's no rules.
Yeah, like,
you know.
Yeah, you're kind of like, it's almost, you kind of feel like that maybe brings you start almost going into like not like kamikaze, but you're just like you almost like, fuck it, I don't really care what happens to me at this point. If whatever is going to happen happens, you know what I mean?
I mean, it wasn't like a type of thing where it's like I think maybe there was one point where I went like, you know, I should just freaking just end this shit, you know. But there's something snapped me out of it, like, you know, it was just so fast. I couldn't even really describe to you what it is. But it's just it's like, well, that's not my call, you know. And so, well, if I got to be here, fuck it, I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
And nobody's really looking out, you know, or anything like that. So fuck it.
I think the crazy thing about that is like, I've never heard you talk like about it, and see that's what I kind of talk about with people's like mindset. And the entire time I known you, which I think is around, been almost like 2 years roughly, or a little. Yeah. Like, I've never heard Dave complain, say I'm having a bad day. Where I think what you said, I've seen people be crushed by less than that. You know what I mean? like literally, like, my girlfriend, my high school girlfriend broke up with me. We dated for 6 months, and I'm done. I'm ready to just throw it all away, and that's it. And like she's alive, he's alive. There's a chance they could reckon, but that's it. Are people like, hey, I lost this job or this, and not saying any of those things are not hard, but sometimes you see people have those bad days, and they forever let it change them and alter them and pivot them, you know what I mean, about how they are as a person. And I think all those days, they suck, like when you have those type of days. But there's also like kind of choices about showing up. And my bad day was, I want to say, nothing to that level. It was just a day where I was going through like my divorce and stuff, going to work. And I always tell people, this was like the crazy part, was where I felt like my personal life was in shambles, but my professional life was fucking going fantastic for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I was still like, doing my job, climbing through the ranks, doing all that stuff. And I think I remember having one day where it was like, but like where I didn't really want to go to work, not for any particular reason. You just kind of are like, stuff is weighing on you, but you're not really telling anyone, and there's no one to really tell. I guess that's also too, because anyone that's probably been in any, like, I guess around, I guess police department or alpha male type, you're not really telling other guys that you have friends and you have associates, right? You're not really telling associates your problems, because that can be perceived as, fucking blood in the water. That's some type of, this is a chance for the opportunity to, you know what I mean? So to me, I always kept things mostly to myself, like that. And so I would just kind of go through it on my own or whatever. So I remember like having, it was like a couple, like 2 to 3 suicide calls pretty close back to back. And then I remember the end of the shift coming and kind of being like, I think where everything was like, man, this is just fucking fucked up, you know what I mean? And not being able to sleep. And I was working nights at the time. And that was the first time I ever had to like really kind of like reach out to my parents and be like, man, like this fucking, it's like, it's a lot. You kind of realize things are just compounding on you. And you're kind of like, this starts feeling like a lot. So you're going to have to learn to I don't say learn to deal with it, but that's where I kind of felt the choice of, whether I was going to continue to like work out or drink, because you definitely feel a pull to, like, I want to say towards the negative, but it kind of feels like that you kind of want to just do what you want to do, but you're also like, okay, if I go down this road, you're going to go down this road. So I think I was the same way. Like, I don't really know why I wouldn't do it, but I would just kind of like, no, I don't want to drink. I'm going to just keep working out. And I don't know why I'm not going to completely crash out, because sometimes you feel like it, but I'm going to keep going this way. And you kind of keep telling yourself, I got to fight through it. It almost becomes like a day by day type of thing, where you're just like, I got to fight through this. I got to fight through this. It's going to get better. And eventually it does, but it's day by day. You're kind of going through it. You're fucking basically crawling to try to get to a better place.
Yeah. No, I mean, so yeah, eventually I did kind of snap out of it. I mean, there was like a couple kind of poignant events, some years like down the road, where it's like, yeah, I did kind of like regain my faith, and started coming back, to being like an actual person again.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but I had like a stretch of like, jumping in, there's like total like toxic relationships, because it's like, I couldn't bring up any kind of level of emotion to actually kind of be involved with anybody, or anything like that, or just, a lot of things I just really didn't give a shit about,
Yeah.
But it's like, I would still be like a hard charger. I mean, when it came to work or whatever, which is like, that's just all I knew how to do.
I think you sometimes, when you're going through that stuff, you tend to start throwing yourself into work or areas that you're good at. You know what I mean? It's like when you see people working out, and you could tell, like, not that working out is unhealthy, but the way they're working out is unhealthy. Like, it's almost because like they're going through something, they're trying to prove something, like it's almost not a good energy. It's almost a negative energy. And it's like, and I think people do that with work too, where it's like, oh, my life sucks, so I'm going to work out. I'm going to work harder. That'll make it better. Or, this not working out, so I'm going to work out harder. But then it really doesn't fix the problem. It's kind of a part of the right path, but it doesn't really fix everything.
But you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
You're actually, you think you're actively fighting something by doing it, and it's like, that just, that's draining. There's, in a way.
Yeah, there's a movie with damn, I can't remember that guy. He's from the Creed movie. He's not the main actor. He's like the guy that plays like Creed's son's rival in like the third Rocky. And there's a movie about bodybuilding. I wish I remember the name of it, but he's super like obsessed with like bodybuilding, like where to the point of where he's like, he can't have a relationship. he goes out to dinner. He can't even have like dinner with a girl because he's like, trying to measure out his chicken. Like,
You're right.
it's like fucking like where it becomes like obsession. And I think sometimes in the culture, you kind of hear sometimes people being like, you got to be obsessed. And I don't agree with that. I agree there. To me, I feel like there's a balance. And I think if you become too, like you said, doing it for the wrong reasons, like, yes, you may get all that money, but that's all you get. You may get a like the fittest body you want, but that's all you get. It doesn't fix your emotions. It doesn't fix your personality. It doesn't fix your mental toughness. All it is now you're really strong in this area and you're really weak in everything else.
Yeah.
Like and I kind of, like you said, talking. I think the faith component that me and you're always talking about, as I think as two guys have been through a lot of different things
Yeah.
in the like tougher areas of life. I don't think we've ever just seen a guy. So everyone believes in something, whether even if you don't believe in something, it's like I feel like, my mom used to kind of say this thing where it was like God kind of will beat you down. Basically, he'll bring you to the bottom if you keep, you know what I mean? Like till you're forced to believe.
Yeah. So I think actually the combination of words that just came to mind is that when it's at the point where it's like you actually, I mean, you can still be performing, at a high level, but you're doing it at a bankruptcy of purpose.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know why you're doing it. You don't really care why. It's just, you don't even feel like there is a reason. It's just you just like become a robot. You're just a machine at that point. And with that, like they say, a bankruptcy of purpose. Then it's like, hey, I mean, you're not doing yourself or anybody else really any good.
Yeah.
And you could be as good as you want, like something, but there's like, other people don't even want to be around you for it. So yeah, doing great. You suck as a person,
And for you going through that, was there any moment that you felt like your mindset shifted? Like for me, I always tell people like, well, I explain like growing up without my dad, right? For the most part. So when I always tell people about my dad, I'm always referencing my stepdad, not my biological, but to me, he's my dad. But there was a long period of time until I was, where I was pretty always doing things almost against my dad, like my real dad, to prove something, right? And it wasn't until my daughter was born, and I remember the place. I remember I was driving over this bridge by my house, like the moment where it's like my mindset just shifted from, hating him to like forgiving him, like wanting to love my daughter more than I wanted to hate him, and kind of going from being motivated to prove something to him to knowing I need to prove things to myself. And that was when I was probably like, I don't know, I was maybe like 23 years old or something around that time. And then once that happened, I just felt a whole shift in my like personality. Like I felt myself like, it's almost like letting something go and not holding on to it no more. And ever since then, I felt like that's kind of how I deal with things. I tend to not hold on to them.
So I don't know if I'll go into like the details of the event that occurred, but I mean, but there was a moment where honestly, I mean, I feel that to my core. I mean, I was given a glimpse of something by God, to where also it just snaps like, oh my God, there is a purpose to this all, I may not understand what it is, but there's something there, and it's like, it started, kind of just growing a little bit more at peace. It's like, there's a reason for this, it'll present itself when it's ready, but I'm still here for a reason.
Yeah.
And it sort of, come up with like the feeling it's like, all the kind of just hard crashing, without purpose. I mean, it was really kind of centered around making it all about me, which, then you come to the realization, well, no, this stuff shouldn't be about me.
Yeah.
I've lost purpose.
Yeah.
I need to be serving something a little bit better, and so it started coming back around. And it was interesting because when I started kind of, getting better, spiritually, that's when I got thrown into prison, because it's like I still kind of had a hangover of like habits I like accumulated that was still engaging in and stuff like that just kind of stockpiled. And they're like, oh, you know what? We're going to lock you up for a while. And I'm like, all right, fine. but it going into that though, I mean, it was that much like easier for me to accept it, and just because for some reason I got to go through this too, and it's like I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not going to play the prison game or anything, but just like ask guys like like whatever happens, I'm going to try to be me. I'm going to stay with my values, not play anybody else's role that they have set for me, you know whatever happens is what happens. Just be there for it, just be there. That's all I asked, and ended up making it through that, and it was rough, because nobody likes a freaking independent person in prison.
No one likes the lone wolf.
And you end up paying for it, and but also in the process you make other people pay for it.
Yeah.
And eventually it starts coming to a point where it's like, well, okay, he's not here to like step on anybody's toes, but but yeah, he's gonna do his thing, and then it was right about that time when I got out. But I got out, and it's like I was never at peace with myself as much as I had that moment.
Yeah.
It's like I was here, man. I just ran the gauntlet.
Things that it's like,
and it's like, and I proved this, at a point where I had everything that I could lose. It could have just been easily, stabbed, freaking one day and not made it out, and it's just like, I stood for what I believed in, made it through it.
What was that time period of that time between like what happening to your fiance or the jail and like always, because I always think things come like they compounded. It's almost like, now I'm not saying threes, I'm not giving it a number, but they always say like a series of losses can make you feel like you're losing. You know what I mean? That's like where things start happening, like, and they're not usually far apart. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, it's usually in a certain time frame that people start feeling like, damn.
Well, so I mean, there was a few years before, my fiance. I mean, I had lost my brother, and that was a toll, and so it's like when she, left, it was right there. It was like, this is fucked up, It's like, it was sort of fucking two people I've cared about most of my fucking life, just gone, and so there was a period for about 10 years where it's like, that I wasn't good as like a person to really anybody else. I was effective as a tool. I was effective at work, all this sort of stuff. But on a personal level, fuck it. Probably if you'd met me then, you probably wouldn't like me. So
It's that asshole Dave.
Yeah, that motherfucker.
Well, that's the thing I put. If you don't handle it, like if you don't handle your bad days, you could snap at people. You take it out on family, drinking, numbing out, skipping workouts, avoiding responsibility, and then emotional decisions.
Right.
Like, and that could be unemotional decisions, like you said, unable to like foster any new relationships because you're I wouldn't even say your guard is up. You're probably just not even opening the drawbridge. You know what I mean?
It's just totally unavailable.
Yeah, you're unavailable.
In that department,
Yeah, like I'm emotionally unavailable. Yeah. Even though it's kind of crazy, that's kind of what I used to word it as, how I felt for a long time when I was kind of like single again or dating. Like I didn't really feel like I couldn't really open up to anyone emotionally, nor did I really want to. I didn't really care to. It was more like you're trying to like work on what you're doing, and it's not even like you're trying to be mean, because it's a very you're trying to walk that line between, you don't want to be some unemotional monster, but you're also not really trying to be super lovey-dovey or whatever. At the time you're kind of just in your own space, you know what I mean? At that point,
I don't even feel like I need to explain myself to you.
Yeah,
I don't even want to, since it was bizarre. I mean, but it was, for whatever reason, is what I've come to accept is like everything that has happened like in life, and it happens in anybody's life. I mean, it's actually a path that God has actually chosen for you. You don't have to understand it, but it's supposed to get you to a point.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is really like a point of just surrender and faith in the path he has laid out for you, because that's where I think kind of like the heaven and hell sort of concept really comes into play while you're here. I mean, because if you don't actually accept that there's a plan and that he's got it for, and it's going to be, what he wants and there's a purpose to it, then you make yourself miserable. You're basically working, in your mind, like against the plan, and say, and you're just fuck the shit. This sucks or whatever, rather than actually kind of maybe taking a step back and go, what is the purpose of it? What can I get out of this that's going to advance me to being a broader use for the people around?
And that's what I think happens to a lot of people now, especially because I think they're always trying to figure everything out. Like just the amount of things, it's like, and I get it, like that are going on in the world. It's like everything, and this goes back to the conspiracy theories, and their whole frame of their mind is wrapped around trying to figure everything out. And I think the same way as you, we're not God. We're not gonna be able to understand everything, why it happens, why it doesn't happen. It's almost like you have to understand, like, I don't really have control of everything. The only thing I can really do is try to control myself and what I'm doing, be the best version of myself, handle things as they come, and accept that some things are going to be out of my control, and face them as they come. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes you can look ahead, you could plan ahead, you could, do what you want, but ultimately, it's really, some things are just uncontrollable. You know what I mean? And I think being in law enforcement for a long time, and I think seeing that people, like some of the way people would just die all of a sudden with different things. Because I used to get like a lot of the notifications when I was like the watch commander, would be like, you're getting all the notifications, and you see random things. Like I remember a girl that worked at a gym, her whole I think it was almost in her entire family were going to LAX to drop someone off at the airport. Anyways, they ended up getting hit head on the PCH, and I think it killed her dad, her brother, her sister. It was like half of her family wiped out in one morning. Shit. And so I tell myself, I'm like, I don't think anyone from that family woke up thinking like, well, today's our last, right? So even when I'm having like a shitty day and I think about things like that, I'm like, okay, that's not happening to me. So yeah, this day could be like shitty or not going the way I want it, but at least I have the opportunity the next day to fix it, or to go, or to try to make it better, or to keep trying to progress forward. And when you put things in that perspective, it makes you think differently. And I think people that really haven't been around death and hardship, or really, are suffered, even, they don't to them, it's this weird make-believe world where they can't understand it. They think everything can be solved in, just in hoping and talking about it. And really, I think people like me, it's really a lot of perseverance. It's a lot of faith in that things are just going to work out, even though you don't know how they're going to work out. You just know that they are. And also just kind of like the showing up part and continuing to kind of like build up off of the things that are happening. Yeah. And those little steps forward ultimately get you to a better place than you're at. Where if you stop moving, I kind of think of it like running. They used to teach you, when we used to have a lot of long runs, like you can't even see over the hill sometimes, right? Like you're running, and you're kind of like, okay, am I close? Am I far? I don't know. but if you stop, you're not going to get any closer. Right. But if you keep going, like, shit, at least I have the hope of maybe I'm going to get to that finish line. And I think that's like the big thing, is like understanding, like, hey, you have to keep going, because at least you have the opportunity to win or succeed. Where if you stop, you're fucking done. That's it. You know what I mean?
It comes down to like kind of like a level of acceptance. I mean, because it's like at any given moment, I mean, you get locked into like this sucks. Why is this happening to me? It's like, you're locked into something that's already happened, rather than, the thing is, life's still going. Yeah. You still got to move forward. And so it's like, you have to be able to accept something, kind of let go of the whole, now it's all about me. This sucks that this is happening to me. When you can actually release that, then you can more clearly see a path forward, or at least come with like, say, solutions, or these are the steps that I can take, to be able to now, get past it, because I can't change what happened. No amount of moping is going to make that different. Yeah. The only thing I got is this way.
I like what you said, because I think it's probably even two parts, right? Like the acceptance of what happened or what might happen, and also the forgiveness of what I can only do what I can do, and I can't. And because you kind of have to forgive yourself too, right? When things don't go a certain way, because you're like, because I think, and I used to see this a lot of time with guys on calls, that things didn't go the way. It's almost like, could I have done something different? Could I have stopped that person from dying? Could I have done this? And sometimes you realize you can't. You're like, first of all, it's like you're not God. You know what I mean? You're not going to stop. Like whatever's going to happen is somewhat going to happen. Did you do your best effort? Okay, yes. If you feel that's the way I always felt about it. If you did your completely best effort, you did everything that you could. If you did, and that's it, then you should be able to walk with your head high, say I did what I could, and I can't control that, and that's all you can do. Because there's certain things that are just out of our realm, and I think, like you said, when you accept that, like you're going to take the wins and the losses, then it allows you to kind of move forward with more, I think more heart, you know what I mean, a little bit more steadfast understanding, like, hey, I can't control it's like I can't control the currents of the ocean. You know what I mean? All I can do is try to steer my ship, but it's it's gonna take me where it takes me. And I think a lot of people, I think they stop trying to steer the ship, and they're like, well, I'm just gonna get blown where the fuck I go, and it's not my responsibility. It's God messing with me. It's the universe. No one likes me. And then you're kind of like, you're kind of the, like, isn't that quote, like the captain of your own ship? Kind of like, yeah, you still gotta fight. You still gotta try to persevere.
Yeah, that kind of metaphor, captain of your own ship. I mean, when you're just dwelling on what, the point of aggravation, stress, or strain, or whatever. If you're just locked into that, then you're basically dragging your own anchor. It's because, like it's in a moment, that is past.
Yeah,
it's over. It's happened. You can't do anything about it. Now you got to focus on what you can do something about.
Yeah, I think, and like I said, I think knowing you for the time I've known you, and I've never seen anything but positive stuff from you and always saying. So it's especially to me, that's always I think sometimes people, and I think people talk about that a little bit, where it's like a lot of people that have been through a lot of stuff tend to end up being the most positive people. Not of this like obnoxious positive, like
right,
sunshines, I'm here, but more of this like,
what are you, the Glee Club?
Yeah. I think more of a like looking, things that would seem terrible to other people or bad to other people. It's just like, nah, it sucks a little bit, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, but even at that though, I mean, you can't judge, other people's bad points, too much, but sometimes you can look at it and say, look, this too is going to pass, stop dwelling on it.
Yeah.
At some point you want to be able to put that foot down with some people, because it's like, because they get, like I said, they get locked into whatever happened.
Yeah.
Rather than what is going to happen.
Yeah, they get it becomes, like you said, almost like I think they defeat themselves in their own head. You know what I mean? Because they used to always tell us that when we go through, like in the army, like you're kind of defeating yourself in your mind, which is true. You can. It's like but until you kind of experience doing that, you're kind of like, you don't get what that means. It's like it's almost like the what you're imagining is bigger than what was actually happening. And there's something I said that says, like, people would rather know an imminent threat, right? Like, that's more like they could deal with that. What bugs a lot of people, and I think what really fucks people up a lot nowadays, is they don't know what's going to happen. I feel like there's a sense of uncertainty sometimes with right now, with how certain things, how they are, whether it's the climate of the world or the country. And I think that uncertainty is driving a lot of people, like, low key, like crazy. You know what I mean? Because they're like wondering, like, is it going to get better? Is it worse? And they slowly starts, and their mind just starts keep going and going. Not only that, they start, doom scrolling. Then you add into that, if you're not eating right, you add into that if you're not working out, you add into that, if you're not having good relationships with people, and these things just compound and compound and compound. And now you're kind of living a perpetual bad day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when something happens, it just keeps confirming to you, oh, I knew it. I knew I was having you know what I mean? I knew everything's against me, because you're not really looking for anything good. You're just looking for anything negative.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sucks to me. I'm like, damn, how do people do that? Because I even have made more of a conscious effort to, like, when I post stuff now, it's more like to be it about, to me, what I deem as positive. So when it's positive is someone getting their ass kicked because they did something wrong. It's funny.
Yes.
But I post stuff like that. I'm not really trying to like, okay, let me post something that's just to be negative, or, this sucks or that sucks.
You're not trying to cheer on bad for somebody else or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I don't want to do that. I want it to, it's more about, like, hey, this kind of motivate. To me, I feel like a lot of it is trying to make show everyone like the everyday person is the real fucking superhero, the real person.
Yeah.
You know, like what everyone is doing and contributing, like everyday, you know, everyday man is more important than what's being sold to you in like the media or the movies. I said because there's a lot of people still going out there grinding, doing good things, taking care of business, protecting people, and those people don't get the spotlight. So I almost feel that's kind of what the brand is. It's kind of putting the spotlight back on like, hey, the average person. That's why I put like that principal who tackled that active shooter guy. Do it where it's like, well, why is this not getting more attention? You know what I mean? Or how about the two cops that shot the lady that was about to stab the kid with a knife? Why is this not getting? So that's, to me, it's like, and I don't try to be a news outlet. That's why I never try to present them as like, let's put them in a news form.
Yeah.
Because I'm not formal like that, and I don't like that. I rather put it with like, make it look like, hey, it's cool already what they did. I just want to make it look more and more like, oh boom, let's throw some music on it, make it look cooler, you know what I mean, type of thing. But the whole reason behind that is for people to see like the real fucking people handling business are the everyday people that are not getting that attention, that recognition. And to me, that's what I'm looking for. So that's what I see. Where I see the people that are looking for all the negative, that's what they see. You know what I mean? I can see it through their posts. Like that's all they see. You know, at some point I'm like, that's become exhausting. And to me, like, I get exhausted looking at their posts sometimes.
Well, see, and you can just look at the, I mean, with like some of the things you post, for example, I mean, if you just look at it at the surface for like what it is, you're probably missing a lot of the point.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of it isn't the fact that, some asshole got shot or something like that. But it's like, look, somebody got faced with a really fucking shitty situation, and what matters is how you're actually prepared to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, because life's going to throw like kind of shit at you like all the time. It may not be the fucking guy coming at you with a knife or whatever, but it's going to happen, and so how are you prepared to handle this random shit that's just going to come out of nowhere, when you least expect it?
Yeah.
And then what is going to end up being the good that comes out of it?
Yeah. What is the positive that comes out of this? And
so
I like that. Cool. We'll probably start wrapping it up right there, Miguel.
I'm sure that took a turn that you didn't expect.
That was a turn. That's a dark turn with Dave. No, I didn't know that. I didn't honestly didn't know that. Even when he said, I was like, we were talking. I was expecting to say something like, in prison one day I got in a fight and this, and I was like, but it kind of puts things in perspective towards your personality, where I've never even heard you really talk about it or that way, or ever showing signs of like ever being like negative about it or anything. That's what I'm saying. And I've been around a lot of people that have never gone through anything close to that, where they're always fucking negative and they're always bitching or crying about something. And, it's like me personally, I have some empathy towards it. I would say I don't really have sympathy towards it, but I can understand why they're doing it. But I also am like, I kind of look at situations like, I think going through stuff like that, you look at things differently and you kind of learn to value life more and your time more and the people you're around, and say, okay, I want things to be good, rather than dwelling on negative things. It's not like you don't care that they're happening, because obviously they suck. No one wants to go through bad shit, you know what I mean? But you're also tend to like, I guess, brush it off a little bit easier, or just take it and say, okay, fuck it, that's that's your best shot, like let me what can I do to make it better?
Exactly.
As always, want to give our shout out to the Gain Station Gym, Easy F Media, Miguel. He's over here trying to take over Paso. He said he wants to start his OnlyFans.
I think that'll sell.
Let's see, the recovery center here at Gain Station. If you need, is there any
people aren't as much scumbags as they were at the beginning.
See, we're doing that positive message. See, all our positive messages.
We're able to educate people. It's not a bathtub.
Yep.
It's a cold plunge.
There's a hose outside. You can get hosed down.
Right.
Courtesy of Dave. With the water hose.
Yeah.
Or Brandon. Just have Brandon out there.
We'll just crack the fire plug. Wash down the street.
You can support us at goodleader.shop. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on all our social media platforms.
Absolutely.
Let's fucking go.
All right.